Welcome to the Focused and Fearless podcast, the show designed to explore how you can step into powerful self-leadership and stop settling for less in your life, business, health, and wealth. I'm your host, Heather Angel, and as a certified energy practitioner, coach, and online business consultant with over a decade of experience, you can expect expansive, honest, and enlightening conversations about what it really takes to create the changes in your life and business that right now may just feel completely out of reach. Thank you for choosing to invest in yourself by listening to this episode. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, beautiful. I am hoping what I'm about to share with you today is going to make your content creation a little bit easier. And the reason I'm sharing this is because, I don't know about you, but I have ideas for my content all the time, but they come to me at completely random moments. So when I sit down to create content, my mind goes completely blank. Yet if I'm out on a walk, or I'm chatting with friends, or I'm just sat doing another bit of work, that's when my brain goes, hey, this is a good idea for a Facebook post, or hey, this would be a good idea for a blog or a podcast episode. And I'm like, thanks, but I'm not in content creation mode right now. And what I found was I might sometimes jot it down if it was a really good quote that I thought of, and I was like, oh yeah, I could say that and make an Instagram thing about it. I might scribble it down on a bit of paper, but that's not the best way forward, because it just gets forgotten about and lost. So I spoke to my coach about this, and she has put me onto Trello. Now, Trello is nothing new. You are possibly aware of Trello. Maybe you use it for your projects. I certainly use it with my VA, and I use it to map out projects, and I find it highly effective. But I'd never used it to create content before. I'd never used it to map out and plan out content. And so when she suggested it to me, I was like, really? Is that going to work? Oh my gosh, it works like gangbusters. It's amazing, because what it allows you to do is you can have Trello on your phone, you can have it on your laptop, and I have Trello open. It's one of the first things I open every morning when I log on, and I just have it open on my board, which is called content creation, or content ideas, I think I've called it. And in there, it's literally, I've got it sectioned. So I do find I talk about certain things, because some of the things are very masculine energy, very like, here's some tips on how to get this done. Like this kind of episode is very much, I'm going to give you some step-by-step things on how to fix an issue you might be having. Other times it's more ethereal, like floaty content. So I do have it broken up into different sections, and like polarizing content, which is a really good one. I'll maybe do another episode on polarizing content one day. But the joy of this is when you are working, or when you are doing something else, when you're making a coffee and you have this great idea, like dialogue just comes into your brain, or it does with me. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a really good thing. Or you'll have a conversation with someone and think, that's really interesting. They had this real problem and we talked it through. Maybe I could talk about the cause effect of this as a social media thing, or I could do it as a podcast, or maybe I need to find an expert in this field and I can bring onto the podcast. All these ideas come. If you have Trello and you have these boards created, you can literally just type a few sentences. There might even just be a few words in there, so that you're like, oh yeah, that will remind me what the idea was and what the flow was that I was talking about. So when then you have your time that you are actually creating your content, you're creating your social media posts, your blogs, whatever it is that you do, you can go into that Trello board and you can just kind of go, right, the ideas are already there. Let's pick and choose. Which ones do I want to elaborate on? It works so, so well. And it takes the frustration out of it, because what I find, and what my clients have shared with me as well, is that when content flows, when something just comes to them and they're like, oh, and they share it immediately on social media, quite often they'll get a great response, because it's just been, you can say it's been channeled through them, or it's just them. It's truth. It's pure stream of consciousness, if you like, and they put it to the page and they share it, and it usually gets a really good response, much more than the content that they sit down and agonize over and change words here and there and kind of think, oh, is that what I should be saying? Is that how it should be? And be aware of the shoulds. So it's really, really powerful to have this Trello board full of all the ideas you have. And, you may look back and go, God, I don't even why I was going to talk about that. I do not know. It may have just been, maybe you're on a bit of a ranty kind of day. There might be things in there that you put that aren't that useful. But if you have one place to put all the ideas down, then before you know it, you've got a week's worth of content. It's done. And you can elaborate it. And obviously, I always recommend people to repurpose their content. So if you decide to write a blog, or if you record a podcast and you have someone writing out a decent length show notes, you can take snippets of that blog and create it as a social media post. You can take snippets of your podcast recordings and create audiograms. That's something my assistant does for me. There's all these things you can do so you don't have to keep working so hard on your content creation, because content is important. It does connect with your audience. But when you're working on it and trying to put out content from a place of push and effort and trying to say the right thing and kind of going, oh my God, well, I've got to put something out today because the Instagram gods will forever block my account if I don't, follow the algorithm and keep posting and blah, 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 blah. It just falls flat. And then you end up spending an hour on one post and 3 people see it. It's heartbreaking. I've totally been there. And I'm just like, I'm not available for that kind of nonsense anymore. It's not a good use of my time. And it doesn't serve anybody, because you're not truly sharing something of real value with people. Because when you do share something that's vulnerable or impacts them or is really useful for them, it does get a bit of traction and it does help people, and people find it and they share it and all that good stuff. So that's my little tip for you. Nice short episode for you today, but I hope that's helpful. Really do embrace some structure when it comes to your content creation. Having Trello allows you to be free-flowing and have all the ideas and just pop them in there, pop them in a board, and then you don't have to think about it. When you get to that Monday morning and that's your time for content creation, if that's when it is, you can just sit there, go to the Trello board and just add a little bit more to what you've already written. And before you know it, instead of spending an hour doing one post, in an hour, you could have had a week, maybe even a month's worth of content done, depending on how quick you work and how much you post. So I really hope that helps. I hope it's a nice little hint, a little bit of a trick. Like I said, I can't take full credit for it. I'm using it and it's working amazingly, but the idea was given to me by my coach, who I adore for everything she does to help me make my life simple. So I'm passing on her wisdom to you. So I really hope that helps you, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, any resources and links mentioned in this episode can be found in the show notes. If you're enjoying this podcast, I would be so grateful if you would kindly share, subscribe, and leave a positive review so that the podcast can help and reach as many people as possible. Thank you again for listening. Have a gorgeous day, and I'll see you in the next episode.